Hello all newcomers and welcome back fellow Eternians. As always, it's Empire of Aeternia and today we are back with another shed update. As you know, we have been working on developing our shed into a lab that we can work to do our physics experiments with and all the other great things that we're going to be getting into with planning and making and designing stuff. So today we are going to be actually continuing our shed build and transforming it, upgrading it, creating it. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or if you've done something like this before and you have any input, please let me know. But with that, today we have some foam here. What we're going to be doing is we actually have a baseboard down here and actually all around this door. If you remember last time we had an issue with sealing this door up. So that was our biggest thing. We were going to try to actually get this sealed so that we can have it better insulated against temperature. That way we can store some of our more sensitive equipment in the shed without worrying about weather damage or temperature damage or bugs getting into it, things like that. So we really need this insulation, and that is where this foam is going to come in. So today we are going to be upgrading the shed with some insulation. We are going to be weatherproofing it as best we can, and we are going to be hopefully transforming the inside into something that looks a little bit more manageable so that I can take all of my electronic equipment and move it into here, and we can start creating this into a nicer lab. So let's get into it. So since our last time starting this series and actually talking about the shed, why we wanted to use it, one of the biggest things that I had issue with was trying to weatherproof the shed. That's what we're going to be doing today, but in between videos, because I just absolutely had to do it to get it started, to see how this would work, I figured the best way to start weatherproofing is going to be to just get rid of about half of the space that we have to deal with here. So the biggest issue we had in our last video, which has been causing trouble with getting this new video out, is that these doors wouldn't fit together properly along this outer edge. So what I had to do was I actually went in behind these pieces of metal and nailed shut the wood to the frame. So you can see here this door actually won't budge at all, and even though that is a detriment to the overall size of things that we can move in and out of our space here in the shed, in the new headquarters, the thing that we're going to find that will help is that for the time being, this is a good solution to that door closing problem. Before, even if I had the doors perfectly lined up, they would still jut out a little bit. So this is going to help us with our weatherproofing, putting in our insulation, and hopefully not having as large a gap. Now whenever I close both of the doors, it does create a little bit of pressure here, but you can actually see that they cleanly close and flush. So I'm going to go ahead and show that if I don't knock over the camera here. So as you can see, there's going to be a loud kind of shitty noise. I hate to ruin you guys' hearing, but let's see. Well, no, okay. It hadn't made that bad a noise, but yeah. Okay, so whenever I actually close this, well, let me move this metal out of the way. Hold on. That's what's stopping us right now. There we go. Okay. So, as you can see, there is a little bit of a gap here. Part of what we're going to do is we're going to clean that up with this foam insulation. But then in addition, when I actually close and lock it, you can see it is a significantly closer gap there. So going from having it kind of open and loose to here to actually having it more closed, it's a very small gap, and it's a lot better than if you remember we were working with last video. So we're going to put in all this insulation real quick, get this thing as weatherproofed as we can for the time being, and then go about putting stuff in the lab and actually getting it set up to have our headquarters finalized. The step one of our headquarters, which means we are going to be continuing this series very, very soon. So keep up with us. I know I've been gone for a minute, but the series is on. Alright, so now everything is pretty well insulated up top here, you can see. So what we're going to go ahead and do is try and close the door and see how well our insulation has worked out, and then if it works well, we're going to go ahead and do the bottom. Okay, so it's interesting. It has created a solution, but with it, a new problem for us to tackle. So this is actually improving the weather stripping a little bit. The only difficulty is now we have opened up this crack at the top here, and I'm going to expand out a little bit in the next shot to show you guys exactly what I mean. So in our attempts to insulate and weather strip this shed, what we've actually done here, we have improved this, but it causes the door to push out a little bit more, like we had issue with last time when we were trying to get the doors really flush, which we solved by nailing this door directly to the frame. But now that we've added our insulation to the frame, we have a little bit of that same problem where one door is just a little bit further sticking out than the other, and that creates this kind of pressure, this push out. So the good news is that our door still nailed to the frame is helping to keep it closed and helping to bridge that gap, but as you can see, our gap has expanded out a little bit. So in the future we'll have to do something that actually kind of plugs that up. For the time being, what we're probably going to do to have a relatively easy solution to that is we're probably just going to get some foam and kind of line this for the time being, and then do the same thing with the bottom. We're actually maybe line here because this would be have closer access to this side, and this door can't open. So that'll probably be what I do. Is today I'm going to do the insulation in the bottom and probably do down this thing right here. Then we're going to put everything in the lab set up, and I'll show you what that looks like. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually going to see if I can go straight through this little thin piece of metal right here and take this screw, stick it straight through there. It's a pretty long wood screw, but I'm not sure if it's actually going to go all the way through, so we'll have to check this out. Well, it doesn't seem like this is working out that great, so what I'm going to be doing instead is, instead of just trying to go straight through this, I'm going to probably have to just take this whole metal panel off, which is going to be difficult and time consuming, and I'm not going to do it in this video. So what I'm going to do today is just finish up the bottom, and then you guys can stay tuned in the next video. I'm going to make a part 2 to this where I put everything inside and we do our first sort of inside decoration thing. So we're going to start breaking up the series effectively into exterior improvements to our headquarters and then interior improvements to our headquarters, which will be sort of a design. Sorry, there's a car passing by. So we're essentially going to have our videos break up into interior. Sorry, there was a car passing by a second ago. We are essentially going to, from this point forward, start breaking up our series into 2 parts. Our first part being our interior design, which you're going to see in the next video, where we start upgrading and designing the inside of our headquarters, and then actual outer modifications to our headquarters, which you will see in videos like this, where we repair the shed, upgrade it, do things like that to make it just a little bit better for us. So check that out in the next video, and I will see you then. Peace, guys.